The sound of my handmade glass beads shattering against the kitchen wall pierced the air like gunshots. Each precious piece, hours of work destroyed in seconds, scattered across our Italian marble floors. Ryan's face twisted into that familiar sneer, the one that made my stomach clench these days. I'm Allison, and this was the moment I realized my husband of 23 years had become a stranger. Worthless junk, he spat, his hand still extended from the throw. This is what you waste your time on, while I handle the real business? Behind him, his parents watched from our breakfast nook with matching expressions of smug satisfaction. Michael drummed his fingers on the granite countertop, while Linda's thin lips curved into what might have been mistaken for a smile. Those were for the Morrison wedding, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. $1,000 commission. $1,000? Ryan laughed, but there was no warmth in it. I close deals worth 100 times that before lunch. But you wouldn't understand real business, would you? I understand enough to know my business doubled its revenue last year. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Michael's drumming fingers stopped. Watch your tone, Allison. Ryan's trying to help you see reason. Reason? I bent to pick up a surviving bead, its surface catching the afternoon light. Is that what we're calling this now? Mom? Emma's voice floated down from upstairs. What was that noise? Nothing, honey. Just drop something. I caught Ryan's warning glare. Always protect the facade. Always pretend. Linda rose from her seat, smoothing her designer slacks. Really, Allison, this little hobby of yours was cute at first, but don't you think it's time to focus on supporting Ryan's career? The country club wives have been talking. I bet they have. I straightened, pocketing the bead. Especially since half of them wear my pieces to their charity events. Ryan stepped closer, his cologne, too strong, too artificial, making my head spin. We need to discuss the house finances. Dad's been looking at the numbers, and we think, we? I cut in. Since when do your parents have any say in our household accounts? Since you proved incapable of proper financial management, Michael interjected, the mortgage refinancing alone. The mortgage I've been paying while Ryan chases his latest investment schemes? The words tasted like battery acid, but God, it felt good to finally say them. Ryan's hand shot out, gripping my wrist. Not hard enough to bruise, never where it would show, but enough to make his point. That's enough. We'll discuss this later. I looked down at his hand, then up at his face. Something must have shown in my expression, because he released me quickly, almost stumbling backward. Yes, I said quietly, we will. Emma appeared in the doorway, her face a careful mask. At 18, she'd perfected the art of emotional distance, and I wondered when exactly that had happened. I'm heading to Sarah's house to study. Of course, sweetheart, Linda cooed. Your father and I were just helping your parents sort out some business matters. Emma's eyes flickered to the scattered beads, then to my face. She didn't say anything, but she didn't have to. The slight nod she gave me spoke volumes. After she left, I started gathering the broken pieces of my work. Each shard represented hours of careful crafting, delicate designs now reduced to glittering debris. But as I collected them, a different kind of design began taking shape in my mind. We'll expect you both for dinner Sunday, Linda announced, gathering her designer purse. We can continue this discussion then. I smiled, and for once, I didn't try to make it reach my eyes. Looking forward to it. As they filed out, Ryan lingered in the doorway. Clean this mess up before someone gets hurt. I waited until I heard their cars pull away before whispering to the empty kitchen. Too late for that. The bead in my pocket felt warm against my hip as I pulled out my phone and dialed Tom's number. Some messes couldn't be cleaned up. Some would have to be avenged instead. Tom's office always smelled like coffee and old leather, a combination that usually calmed my nerves. Not today. I paced between his desk and the window, clutching the flash drive Emma had slipped me that morning. You need to see this, I said, tossing it onto his desk. He picked it up, turning it over in his hands. What am I looking at? Bank statements, mortgage documents, things I wasn't supposed to find. My fingers traced the edge of his desk. Ryan's been moving money around for months. But here's the kicker. Every transfer has Michael's digital signature on it. Tom plugged in the drive, his eyes scanning the documents. The furrow between his brows deepened. Jesus, Allison. Remember that joint account we opened when we first got married? The one for Emma's college fund? I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to my own ears. Empty, every penny transferred to an account I can't access. That's theft, Tom said, his voice hard. We need to call. No police. I stopped pacing. Not yet. There's more. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ryan. Where are you? Mom and Dad are coming for dinner. Don't embarrass me. I showed Tom the message. They're getting bolder. Last week, Linda suggested I sign over my portion of the house equity for tax purposes, she said. Called it estate planning. And Emma? How's she handling all this? The question hit like a punch to the gut. She's recording everything. That flash drive? She's been documenting their conversations for weeks. My 18-year-old daughter shouldn't have to play spy in her own home. Tom leaned back, his chair creaking. You know what this means, don't you? They're setting you up, building a paper trail. Yeah. I picked up a paperweight from his desk, something solid to ground myself. Ryan's latest investment went south. Big time. He lost millions, other people's millions. Now he needs a scapegoat. And his parents. Michael and Linda never thought I was good enough for their precious son. Now they're helping him bury me. I set the paperweight down with deliberate care. But they forgot something important. What's that? I used to work in corporate finance before I started my business. I know exactly how to follow a paper trail and how to lay one. Tom's phone lit up with a calendar notification. Speaking of your business, don't you have that meeting with the Heritage Museum Board today? The one about featuring your work in their gift shop? I checked my watch and smiled. Linda's on that board. She doesn't know I'm presenting. Allison, Tom's voice carried a warning note. Don't worry, I'm not going to cause a scene. I gathered my purse. I'm just going to do what they taught me. Smile, be polite, and stick the knife in so smoothly they won't feel it until they're bleeding out. The museum's marble halls echoed with my heels as I approached the boardroom. Through the glass doors, I could see Linda holding court, her perfectly coiffed hair catching the light. She froze mid-sentence when I walked in. Allison? Her voice pitched higher than usual. What are you doing here? I set my portfolio on the table. Presenting my fall collection? Didn't you get the memo? The other board members, mostly Linda's country club friends, shifted uncomfortably. I recognized several pieces of my jewelry adorning their necks and wrists. Actually, I continued, opening my portfolio, I'm so glad you're here, Linda. You can vouch for the quality of my work. After all, you were wearing my sapphire pendant at the governor's charity ball last month. Linda's hand flew to her throat where that very pendant hung. That was a gift from Ryan. Was it? I pulled out the custom order form with her signature. Because according to my records, you commissioned it yourself. Even insisted on keeping it quiet. Something about not wanting Michael to know the price? The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Linda's face flushed red, then white. Shall we begin the presentation? I smiled at the board members. I have some fascinating pieces to show you and quite a few stories about their creation. As I launched into my pitch, I caught Linda frantically texting under the table, probably warning Ryan and Michael that their carefully constructed house of cards was starting to wobble. Good, Let them squirm. This was just the beginning. The email from my biggest supplier hit like a thunderbolt at 3 in the morning. Order canceled. No explanation. No warning. Just a terse message about maintaining professional standards and protecting their reputation. I was still staring at my laptop screen when Emma slipped into my home office, wrapped in her old purple bathrobe. "Mom, I heard you get up." "Just work stuff, honey." I closed the laptop, but not before she glimpsed the message. "Weird timing," she said, perching on my desk. "Especially right after Grandma Linda had lunch with Mrs. Peterson yesterday." My head snapped up. Mrs. Peterson? The supplier's wife? Emma's expression hardened. "They were at the club. I recorded some of it." She pulled out her phone, hesitated. "It's pretty bad." The recording was crystal clear. Linda's voice dripped with concern as she detailed my supposed instability, my dangerous obsession with false accusations against Ryan, my inappropriate relationship with Tom. Each word precisely calculated to destroy my reputation. "That manipulative bit?" I caught myself, remembering Emma was watching. "How did you get this?" "I work at the club now, remember? Started last week." She twisted a strand of hair around her finger. "Grandma doesn't notice the busboy's daughter." A knock at the front door made us both jump. 3:30 in the morning. It could only be one person. "Stay here," I told Emma, but she followed me anyway. Ryan stood on our porch, Michael looming behind him. Both wore suits like they'd come straight from a business meeting, in the middle of the night. "We need to talk," Ryan said, pushing past me into the house, "about your recent behavior." "My behavior?" I kept my voice level, aware of Emma watching from the stairs. "Like canceling my supplier contracts?" Michael stepped forward, all false concern. "Now, Allison, if your vendors are having second thoughts, perhaps you should examine why—" "Cut the crap." The words came out sharp enough to make them both blink. "I know about Linda's lunch date. I know about the money transfers. I know everything." Ryan's face flickered between rage and fear before settling into something worse, pity. "You're not well, honey. We've all noticed it. The paranoid accusations, the erratic behavior. Gaslighting now, Ryan? Really?" I moved to the kitchen, needing space, needing to think. They followed like shadows. "We're trying to help," Michael said, placing a thick envelope on the counter. "These papers will ensure you're taken care of while you recover." I didn't touch the envelope. Recovery meaning what? Signing over my business, my house, my life? "Your temporary guardianship," Ryan said softly, reaching for my hand. I jerked away. "Just until you're stable again." Emma appeared in the doorway, phone raised. "I've got the police on speed dial." "Emma, sweetheart," Michael started, but she cut him off. "I've got recordings, lots of them. Want to hear yourself planning to frame Mom for embezzlement, Dad? Or maybe Grandpa's chat with the bank manager about forging signatures." The color drained from Ryan's face. "You've been spying on us? Learning from the best." Emma's smile was pure ice. "Mom's not the one who needs help." Michael stepped toward her. "Give me that phone." "Back off." My voice could have frozen hell. "Touch her, and I release everything. The recordings, the financial documents, all of it. How do you think your country club friends will react to that?" "You're bluffing," Ryan said, but his voice wavered. I pulled out my own phone, pressed play. Linda's voice filled the kitchen, detailing their plans to the Peterson woman. Ryan's face went from white to green. "Get out," I said quietly. "Both of you, now." "This isn't over," Michael warned as they backed toward the door. "You're right." I followed them, making sure they left. "It's just beginning." After they drove away, Emma hugged me fiercely. "What now?" I touched the pendant at my throat, the first piece I'd ever made, back when I still believed in Ryan's support. Now we show them exactly who they're dealing with. My phone buzzed with a text from Tom. Meeting set with the DA tomorrow. Bring everything. I smiled, remembering Linda's smug face at the museum board meeting. They wanted to paint me as unstable? Fine. Let's show them what happens when I really lose control. Emma squeezed my hand. They won't know what hit them. No, I agreed, watching the sunrise paint our kitchen gold. They won't. The district attorney's office felt colder than it should have in June. Tom sat beside me while the DA, a sharp-eyed woman named Claire Matthews, reviewed our evidence. These recordings are compelling, she said, setting down Emma's flash drive. But there's something else you should see. She slid a folder across her desk. The documents inside made my hands shake. Investment prospectuses, bank transfers, loan applications, all bearing my forged signature. Dates going back 3 years. How did you get these? Anonymous tip. Claire's expression remained neutral. Someone inside your husband's investment firm is talking. Seems Ryan's been running a Ponzi scheme, using your identity as collateral. Tom leaned forward. How much are we talking about? 30 million, give or take. She tapped the folder. Your signature's on everything, Allison. If this blows up, I'll take the fall. The realization hit like ice water. That's their plan, isn't it? Frame me for the scheme, protect Ryan and his reputation. My phone buzzed. Emma. Grandma and Grandpa just showed up with moving boxes. Dad's letting them in. I need to go. I stood abruptly. They're at my house. Allison, wait. Claire's voice stopped me at the door. If you confront them now, you'll tip our hand. Let them think they're winning. I gripped the door frame until my knuckles went white. While they clean out my home? While they give us more evidence, Tom said quietly. Think chess, not checkers. I forced myself to breathe. Fine, but I'm not sitting here while they're with my daughter. The drive home felt endless. When I pulled up, Michael and Linda's car was in the driveway, along with a small moving truck. My key turned in the lock, but the security chain was engaged. Ryan, I called out. Emma? Just a minute. Linda's voice, sickly sweet. The chain scraped free. They'd been busy. Boxes lined the hallway, filled with my business supplies, my tools, my life's work. Emma stood at the top of the stairs, filming everything on her phone. What's going on? I kept my voice steady, remembering Claire's warning. Spring cleaning, Ryan emerged from my office carrying my laptop. Dad's financial advisor suggested we simplify things, separate business and personal assets. By removing my business from my home office? Your workshop's being converted to a home gym, Linda announced, like she was doing me a favor. Really, dear, it's for the best. All this clutter can't be good for your mental state. I caught Emma's slight nod. She was still recording. Keep them talking. And my supplies? My inventory? Storage unit, Michael said, appearing with another box. Already paid for, very secure. How thoughtful. I moved to my office doorway. And my laptop? Company property now, Ryan said smoothly. Part of the restructuring. Restructuring. I leaned against the door frame, casual as a cobra. Like the 30 million in fraudulent investments under my name? The box slipped from Michael's hands, crashing to the floor. Glass beads scattered like dropped diamonds. Ryan recovered first. You're confused, honey. This is why we're worried. Save it. I pulled out my phone, dialed without looking. Claire, they're here, with the evidence. The color drained from Linda's face. Who's Claire? District Attorney Matthews, Tom said from the front door, holding up his badge. I'd forgotten he was a retired detective. And those boxes you're so helpfully packing? They're now evidence in a federal investigation. You can't, Ryan started. Actually, we can. I stepped aside as uniformed officers entered. Everything here is jointly owned, which means you need my permission to remove it. Permission I didn't give. Emma descended the stairs, phone still recording. Got it all, Mom, every word. Michael lunged for her phone, but an officer caught his arm. Sir, please step back. I watched them catalog every box, every document, every attempt to erase me from my own home. Linda's perfectly manicured hands trembled as she gripped her designer purse. Ryan wouldn't meet my eyes. You'll regret this, he whispered as the officers led them out. I touched the empty space on my finger where my wedding ring used to be. No, I won't. Later, after the evidence was collected and statements taken, Emma and I stood in my ransacked office. What happens now? She asked. I picked up a surviving bead from the floor, held it to the light. Now, we rebuild, and we make sure they never see it coming. The real estate documents lay spread across Tom's dining room table like a map of betrayal. Each page revealed another piece of Ryan's plan. Mortgage refinancing, deed transfers, property liens, all with my forged signature, all dated within the last month. They're trying to force a foreclosure, Tom said, highlighting another suspicious transfer. If you default on these new terms, I lose everything. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, so I gripped my coffee mug tighter. The house, the workshop, even my business assets. My phone buzzed. Emma, Dad's meeting with the bank manager again, recording everything. She shouldn't have to do this, I whispered. She shouldn't have to spy on her own father. Tom's response was cut off by a knock at the door. Claire Matthews stood on the porch, holding a thick manila envelope. You need to see this now. She spread out new documents next to the others. Ryan's investment firm is imploding. Investors are asking questions, demanding their money back. The Ponzi scheme? It's worse. She pointed to a series of transactions. He's been laundering money through your business accounts, making it look like your jewelry sales are covering his losses. The mug slipped from my hands, shattering on the hardwood. Coffee spread like blood across the floor. How much time do I have? Days, maybe hours before the feds freeze everything. Claire's expression softened slightly, including your legitimate business accounts. My phone buzzed again. Linda this time. Dinner tonight, non-negotiable. Family meeting about your recent behavior. Go, Tom said before I could speak. Keep them thinking they're in control. The drive home felt like entering enemy territory. Ryan's car was already in the driveway, along with Michael and Linda's. Through the window, I could see Emma setting the dining room table. The good china, like this was just another family dinner. Inside, Linda bustled around my kitchen like she owned it. Maybe she thought she soon would. There you are. Her voice dripped honey-coated poison. We were getting worried. Traffic. I moved to help Emma, but Ryan blocked my path. Sit down, honey. His hand on my shoulder felt like a lead weight. We need to discuss some changes. Michael cleared his throat, producing a folder identical to the ones I'd seen earlier. We've been reviewing the family finances. Given your emotional state lately, we think it's best if Ryan takes control of the assets temporarily. All I need is your signature. Ryan slid papers across the table. For your own protection, of course. Emma's phone sat on the table, recording everything. I reached for the documents with trembling fingers. Let them think it was fear, not rage. And if I refuse, then we'll be forced to take more drastic measures, Linda said softly. For your own good. Like having me committed? The words hung in the air like smoke. That's the plan, isn't it? Ryan gets everything and I get a padded room? Mom, Emma started, but Michael cut her off. You're proving our point with this paranoid behavior. He nodded to Ryan. Show her. Ryan produced another document, a psychiatric evaluation I'd never had. declaring me unstable and unfit to manage my affairs. Just sign, he said quietly. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I picked up the pen, saw their faces relax slightly. Then I snapped it in half, letting ink stain the fraudulent papers. No, Allison, Linda's voice held a warning. I said no. I stood slowly. You want my business? My home? Come and take them. But know this, I'll burn everything to the ground before I let you win. You've lost your mind, Michael sputtered. No, I smiled, thinking of the evidence building against them, of Emma's recordings, of Claire's investigation. I finally found it. Ryan reached for my arm. I stepped back, bumping the china cabinet. His mother's precious antique plates crashed to the floor. Oops. I didn't bother hiding my satisfaction. Guess I'm just too unstable to trust around valuable things. Get out, Ryan growled. Now. Gladly. I grabbed my purse, caught Emma's slight nod. But remember, you taught me how to play dirty. Don't be surprised when I prove to be a better student than you expected. Outside, my phone lit up with a message from Claire. Warrants approved, moving tomorrow. I started my car, watching my family, no, my enemies, through the window. They thought they had me cornered. They were about to learn how dangerous that could be. The Heritage Museum ballroom glittered with false promises. Every crystal, every polished surface reflected the faces of people who'd watched my systematic destruction and done nothing. Now they were here for my business celebration, sipping champagne and pretending everything was fine. Emma worked the crowd masterfully, placing hidden microphones at strategic points. Tom stood by the entrance, coordinating with Claire's team. Everything was ready. Darling, Linda's voice cut through the murmur of conversation. She air-kissed my cheek, her fingers digging into my arm. Such a lovely event, though perhaps a bit ambitious for your current situation. Wouldn't miss it for the world, I replied, watching Ryan and Michael work the room, shaking hands, playing their parts. Where else would I announce the exciting changes to my business? Linda's smile flickered. Changes? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Abort Ryan's lawyers filed emergency injunction. Cannot proceed. The room tilted slightly. Another message. All evidence temporarily sealed by judge's order. Everything all right, honey? Ryan appeared beside me, his hand settling on my lower back like a brand. You look pale. I stepped away, bumping into a waiter. Champagne glasses crashed to the floor, drawing every eye in the room. The silence felt like a noose. Mom? Emma's worried voice cut through the quiet. I'm fine. My voice sounded distant, hollow. Just need some air. Ryan followed me toward the terrace. I warned you about playing games, he whispered. Did you really think I wouldn't be prepared? How? The word tasted like ash. Judge Harrison is an old golf buddy of Dad's. His smile never reached his eyes. Amazing how quickly things happen when you know the right people. The night air offered no relief. Through the glass doors, I could see Linda gathering the influential crowd, no doubt spinning tales about my instability. Face it, Allison. Ryan moved closer, his voice soft but lethal. You've lost. The house, the business, your reputation. It's over. Sign the papers tomorrow, and maybe we'll let you keep visitation rights with Emma. Mom! Emma burst onto the terrace, phone in hand. Something's wrong with the live stream. All our recordings are corrupted. My knees nearly buckled. Months of evidence gone in an instant. Technical difficulties? Michael joined us, radiating smug satisfaction. How unfortunate. Linda, perhaps you should share that concerning video from last week. The one where Allison had her episode? Linda already had her phone out, surrounded by eager listeners. A doctored video of me, carefully edited to show exactly what they wanted people to see. Stop this, Emma pleaded, but Ryan silenced her with a look. Go inside, sweetheart. This doesn't concern you. Like hell it doesn't. She moved to stand beside me, but I caught her arm. Do as he says, I whispered. Please. She hesitated, tears in her eyes, before retreating inside. Through the glass, I saw Tom trying to reach Claire on his phone, shaking his head in frustration. It's done, Ryan said quietly. The judge's order covers everything: bank records, recordings, witness statements. One word from you about any of this, and you'll face criminal charges for defamation and corporate espionage. The terrace railing felt cool under my hands. Below, the museum gardens stretched into darkness. Everything I'd planned, every piece of evidence we'd gathered, neutralized in seconds. Why? I finally asked. Why go to all this trouble? You could have just divorced me. Because you needed to learn your place. Linda joined us, her designer heels clicking on the stone. We gave you everything: position, status, a place in our family, and you repaid us with this common little business, these embarrassing attempts at independence. The papers will be delivered tomorrow morning, Michael added. Sign them, or we'll make sure Emma sees exactly what kind of mother you really are. Inside, the party continued. My celebration turned funeral, orchestrated by the people who'd sworn to love me. Emma stood by the window, tears streaming down her face as she watched her family implode. I gripped the railing harder, feeling the cold metal bite into my palms. They'd taken everything: my home, my business, my evidence, my reputation. Even my daughter would suffer if I fought back now. Well, Ryan prompted, what's it going to be? I looked out over the darkened gardens, remembering every slight, every manipulation, every moment of control. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd broken me. They had no idea what a broken woman was capable of. You'll have my answer in the morning, I said, and turned to rejoin my ruined party. The morning sun hadn't yet touched the windows of Ryan's investment firm when I walked through its glass doors. Security cameras tracked my movement. Perfect. I wanted witnesses for what came next. Mrs. Thompson? The receptionist's eyes widened. You're not on the schedule. I was already past her desk, Emma's final recording playing at full volume on my phone. Ryan's voice filled the marble lobby. Once she signs, transfer everything. I don't care about the legalities. Just make it disappear. Heads turned. Phones emerged. In the digital age, a scandal spreads faster than wildfire. Ryan's office door burst open. What the hell are you doing? Giving your investors a preview. I turned up the volume. Michael's voice now. The judge will suppress the evidence. No one will believe her. Security. Linda emerged from the conference room, her perfect composure cracking. Remove this woman immediately. Before or after they hear about the offshore accounts. I held up a USB drive. Amazing what people reveal when they think they're among friends. Your secretary has been very helpful, Ryan. The color drained from his face. Behind him, Michael gripped his chest, stumbling slightly. You're bluffing, Linda snapped. The judge's order doesn't cover evidence obtained after it was issued. Claire Matthews stepped off the elevator, flanked by federal agents. Or evidence provided by whistleblowers. Ryan's secretary appeared, holding a stack of documents. I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, but I couldn't be part of this anymore. You bitch, Linda hissed at me. After everything we've done for you. Done for me? The laugh that escaped me didn't sound entirely sane. You mean like forging my signature, stealing my daughter's college fund, trying to have me committed? More phones recording now. The morning staff had arrived, creating an audience for the implosion of the Thompson family empire. Dad? Emma's voice cut through the chaos. She emerged from the elevator, holding her own phone. Want to explain this email about selling mom's business assets? Ryan stepped toward her. Sweetheart, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. She played another recording. Ryan and Michael, planning to liquidate my inventory, destroy my supplier relationships, erase every trace of my independence. Michael clutched his arm, face gray. Linda rushed to support him, but he waved her away. It's over, Ryan. I kept my voice steady. The offshore accounts are frozen. Judge Harrison's connection to your father has been exposed. Claire has enough evidence to bury all of you. You'll go down with us, he snarled. Your signature's on everything. No, his secretary interrupted. I witnessed Mr. Thompson forcing Mrs. Thompson's signature. I have dates, times, documentation. The elevator dinged again. Tom emerged with more federal agents carrying boxes of evidence. Michael Thompson? An agent stepped forward. We have a warrant for your arrest. Michael straightened, years of arrogance overriding his physical distress. This is ridiculous. I'm a respected father. Ryan's voice cracked. What did you do with the pension funds? The silence that followed was deafening. Linda's perfectly manicured hands began to shake. Ryan, honey, she started, but he cut her off. Tell me you didn't gamble away our investors' retirement funds. Michael's face contorted. Everything I did for you, to maintain our position, our reputation. Your reputation? Emma's voice dripped contempt. Is that why you tried to destroy Mom? To protect your precious reputation? The agents moved in. Michael didn't resist as they cuffed him. Linda sobbed, her carefully constructed world crumbling. Ryan stood frozen, watching his father's arrest, his mother's breakdown, his empire's collapse. When he finally looked at me, I saw something I'd never expected. Defeat. You won, he whispered. No, Ryan. I stepped closer, close enough to smell his familiar cologne one last time. You lost. There's a difference. As the agents led them away, Emma slipped her hand into mine. Through the glass walls, we could see reporters arriving, drawn by social media alerts and insider tips. Was it worth it? She asked softly. I watched Linda's tears ruin her perfect makeup, saw Michael's proud shoulders slump in handcuffs, observed Ryan's stunned realization that his parents had destroyed everything he'd built. Ask me tomorrow, I said, and turned toward the rising sun. The Heritage Museum's marble halls echoed differently now. My footsteps carried purpose instead of fear as I approached the boardroom where, months ago, Linda had tried to destroy me. Today, I was here to buy the building. The board is ready for you, the secretary said, not quite meeting my eyes. Everyone knew the story now. It had been impossible to miss. The Thompson family's fall from grace had shaken our entire community. Inside, familiar faces watched me with new respect. The same women who'd worn my jewelry while whispering Linda's lies now sat straighter in their chairs, eager to distance themselves from the scandal. Your offer is generous, the board president said, sliding the paperwork across the table. The museum needs funding. I signed without hesitation, and I need a bigger workshop space. My phone buzzed, Emma sending photos from her college dorm room. She'd chosen a school across the country, needing space to forge her own path. I understood completely. The elevator dinged as I left the meeting. Linda stepped out, freezing when she saw me. Her designer clothes hung loose now. Her makeup couldn't hide the strain of Michael's imprisonment and Ryan's pending trial. I heard you bought the building, she said, voice brittle as old glass. Just the West Wing. I moved to pass her, but she caught my arm. I never told you why. Her fingers trembled. Why I hated you so much. Does it matter? You were supposed to fail. The words rushed out like a confession. When Ryan married you, This nobody from nowhere. I told Michael you'd never last, but you thrived, built something real while Ryan played with Daddy's money. Every success of yours was a reminder of our failures. I gently removed her hand. You could have chosen to be proud, to welcome me. Instead, you tried to break me. And now you've broken us. No accusation in her tone, just tired acceptance. No, Linda, you broke yourselves. Outside, Tom waited by his car. Ready for part two? I nodded, following him to Ryan's investment firm. My investment firm now, bought for pennies on the dollar after the scandal. The lobby still held echoes of that final confrontation, but the nameplate already read Phoenix Financial Services. Ryan's old office looked smaller without his presence. I ran my fingers across the desk where he'd plotted my destruction, remembering the woman I'd been, afraid, uncertain, desperate to please. The last of his things were cleared out this morning, Tom said, watching me carefully. You sure about this? About taking over the firm, or about not pressing additional charges? Both. I opened my laptop, pulled up the email I'd received that morning, Ryan's final attempt at something. Not quite an apology, not quite a confession, just an acknowledgement that he understood, finally, what he'd lost. The investors need someone they trust to rebuild, I said, and Emma needs to know her father won't spend the rest of his life in prison. And what do you need? Through the window, I could see the garden where I used to make my jewelry, small and hidden but still blooming. Like me. I needed to prove I could survive them, I said. Not just survive, thrive. And I have. My phone buzzed again. A message from Claire. Michael's sentencing tomorrow. Want to attend? No, I typed back. Let Linda stand alone beside her fallen husband. I had other plans. I turned to Tom. Help me move these boxes? I want my workshop set up by sunset. Here, in Ryan's old office? Poetic, isn't it? I pulled out my tools, laying them on the executive desk where Ryan had once lorded over his empire. From now on, I'll create beauty in the place where they plotted ugliness. Tom smiled, understanding. Phoenix rising from the ashes? Something like that. I held a piece of sea glass to the light, watching it sparkle. Though sometimes I wonder if the phoenix remembers the fire that forged it. Do you? I set the glass down, thinking of Emma's strength, of lessons learned, of power found in breaking. Some fires leave scars, others leave wisdom. And revenge? Leaves echoes, I said, and began to work.